What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, back with Tony.
Yeah, back in locals.
And yeah, well, I mean, we're finally back. We have a little bit of a distance here between us.
Yeah, that's the only reason I could not wear this mask right now.
Yeah, we got
nice
like
space.
6 feet, but we have locals in real life again, which is cool. But in today's video, Tony's going to be showing off a deck that actually just recently came out, or I guess got support for, one or the other, in King's Court. So Tony, take it away.
Okay, yes. So if you're looking for a profile that makes use of the support to do something else, you're on the wrong channel. This version of the Arcana Knight deck that I'm going to be showcasing is one that's focused more on summoning out the Egyptian gods.
So if you want to see the fusion build, it's going to be on Tony's channel.
Right, that one I already have on my channel. This one, however, is going to be focused more on that big dick smack and when hit OTK kind of thing.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, starting off, we have the Arcana Knights. We have 2 king, 2 queen, 2 jack.
Yep.
Realistically, you could play more of these, but the real aspect of these is these are still bricks in one way or another.
Yep.
But the way that this works is that when King's Knight is normal summon, while you control Queen's Knight, you can summon out a Jack's Knight. This puts 3 monsters on the field. So the idea is that if you find a way to special summon out this Queen's Knight, and then you get the King's Knight onto the field, you have 3 monsters that you can use to tribute summon an Egyptian god card.
Yep.
Granted, there's not a lot of ways to do it like with these cards alone,
Yep.
but the idea that they put 3 monsters on the field is the main focus of this deck.
Okay.
Moving on from there, we have the card that allows us to do this a little easier. We have 3 Joker's Knight.
Yep.
So Joker's Knight can send one of these three Arcana Knights to the graveyard, from the deck to the graveyard, to special summon itself onto the field and copy its name.
Yep.
In most cases, you'll be sending the Queen's Knight, because in doing so, it becomes a Queen's Knight for you to then normal summon this King's Knight and get its effect off.
Yep.
As it also turns out, because it's a level 5 light warrior monster, you can also overlay it with a Jack's Knight to make a rank 5 monster like Constellar Pleiades. So this card's really good. But the real benefit of this card is that while it's in the graveyard, you can take one of your light warrior monsters, it doesn't have to be these ones, but these are light warriors,
Yep.
in your graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck to add this card back into your hand. This works on either end phase, and that means that no matter what you do, you always have a continuous use of a Joker's Knight once you see it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, that's just endless recursion.
It's just endless recursion, and that lets you play a lot of just like discard outlet cards that essentially are free for you, because you're just going to get the cards back in the end phase, and it lets you recycle all these Arcana Knights that you don't want to be playing too much of.
Okay.
Alright, moving on from there, we go directly into the god stuff. We're playing 2 raw Sphere Mode and 1 raw the Wing Dragon.
Actual Wing Dragon.
So some of you are going to be asking, where is Slifer? And the answer is, I'm not playing Slifer. Slifer, in theory, is a really good card, because once it hits the field, it gets bigger based off of your hand, which is easily replenished thanks to your monsters,
Yep.
and it drops your opponent's monsters by 2,000 attack. But you know what's also bad with the card? It loses to any form of effect, this negation.
Yeah.
You go Imperm, you go Dark a little more. Hell, you can probably just negate it with any kind of targeting effect as well, and it just becomes a 0/0 that gets run over.
So this deck, I just wanted to reiterate, this deck is mostly for going second OTK.
Yes, the idea is that realistically none of the gods are good, so you might as well just summon out a god that kills your opponent in 1 turn and not have to worry about following turns.
Okay.
And as it turns out, the Wing Dragon Raw does that. Wing Dragon Raw, when summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects, which is great because its on-sound effect has you pay all your life until you have 100 to give itself attack equal to the amount you paid.
Yep.
And this can get really big, especially combined with the other support.
Yep.
Alternatively, if you wanted an easier way to do things, you play Sphere Mode instead. Sphere Mode allows you to summon it off by tributing 3 monsters on either side of the field. So you either contribute 3 of yours or 3 of your opponents. And both of them will be relevant. You contribute 3 of your opponent's monsters just as a little like kaiju play, and that clears your opponent's field. Or in certain situations where you just put 3 of your Arcana Knights on the field, you contribute them to summon the ball on your side of the field. Why would you do that? Because on top of this card also being able to come back to its owner's hand on the next end phase, you can tribute this card to summon out the Wing Dragon Raw from your hand or field, and then make its attack 4,000, making this just a random 4,000 beater that can pay its other effect. So I also didn't mention this. It has another effect where if you don't want to pay the life to increase its attack, you can also pay 1,000 life just to pop a card in the field.
Oh yeah, okay.
These are removal.
So disruption, nice.
Yeah, so you can tribute this, summon this guy out, start paying 1,000 life, and then just pop your opponent's field.
Nice.
It's like a weird Dark Arm Dragon kind of situation. And this is made better thanks to the other support we play in the deck. For example, some of the support we do play is stuff that comes out from that Duelist of Gloom Duelist pack in R3, Guardian Slime.
Yep.
Guardian Slime is a level 10 monster with no attack and no defense, so it's not the greatest, but it has a few neat effects. First off, when your opponent when you would take damage, any damage, battle effect damage, you expect to summon this card from your hand, which means at worst, if you're on the defensive, this card can come in and save you. Yep. When your opponent battles this monster, you can make this card's defense equal to that monster that attacks its attack.
Yep.
So it survives 1 battle at minimum. But the most important part is that if this card is sent from the field or hand to the graveyard, you add any card, any spell that lists Winged Dragon of Ra in its text, which allows you to search all the Winged Dragon of Ra support that you have in your deck, particularly just one card that makes this deck a little easier to summon out your god. And the cool part is, while you may not always necessarily put this card onto the field, there actually is ways to just get this card from your hand to the graveyard to trigger its effect that way. From there, because we're playing a deck that essentially sometimes controls the monsters can go off out of nowhere, we're playing through the Gamma package. Gamma's Gamma. Now, moving into spells, we have the most powerful card in our deck in R3, Joker Straight. Joker Straight, when activated, as the effect, you discard a card from your hand. Then you will special summon out a Queen's Knight from your deck. Then you can add either a King's Knight or a Jack's Knight from your deck to your hand. And then after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one monster. This is an effect normal summon. It does not consume your turn given normal summon. Which means in most situations what you can do with this card is you're going to special summon out the Queen's Knight, add the King's Knight, use the additional normal summon that this card gives you, just normal summon out the King's Knight, and trigger King's Knight's effect to put out a Jack's Knight without burning up your normal summon. And that lets you use all three monsters in that same turn to just literally tribute summon out an Egyptian god. In most cases, you can probably tribute summon this out, but we have other ways to make use of this. So in most cases, what you really want to do is you want to tribute out into a ball, and then use ball to summon into Ra to beat down your opponent. And the idea that this card discards from hand means, yes, you can discard something like a Guardian Slime to trigger its effect to search for your other Raw support, which has some really neat applications. Furthermore, like Joker's Knight, while it's in the graveyard during the end phase, either player's end phase, you can shuffle back one of your Light Warriors to add it back to your hand, meaning that once again, once this card hits circulation, you'll always be able to activate it and get it back into your hand to continuously summon out three monsters from your deck. The only limitation is you're locked into Light Warriors, which realistically should matter, but if you're summoning Egyptian gods, it doesn't. What Light Warriors do you care about afterwards? Then from there we go into some of the other support. We have the other one known as Thunder Speed Summon. Thunder Speed Summon is a quick play spell which, when activated during the main or battle phase, you can normal summon a level 10 monster from your hand. Which is pretty decent because not only are your Egyptian gods level 10, but so is your slime. So a worst situation, you can tribute summon a slime this way and then...
Make Egyptian god slime?
Yes, you can make Egyptian god slime and go from there.
That's pretty good.
However, if you were to conveniently control all three of the Arcana Knight, that means King, Queen, and Jack's Knight, it also allows you to add one monster from your deck with question mark attack that's not a dark, and then normal summon it that way.
AKA Ra.
AKA you're wrong. But what this, because of the fact that this is a quick play, it also means that you can, on your opponent's turn, add a sphere mode and tribute your opponent's monsters.
Oh my god, wait. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of combos where you'll actually be summoning just these monsters out on your opponent's turn, and then activating this to clear your opponent's field. And then in 2 turns, this comes back, and then you beat down your opponent with it.
That's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that makes this card actually really useful. The only unfortunate part is that because this effect is dependent on you actually controlling all three of them, it means that if one of them goes away by some means, you don't get this effect off. So you're kind of awkwardly forced to keep them on the field, and sometimes that's not always the greatest. But the idea that this card essentially gets you into your Egyptian gods a little easier makes this card really good.
Yeah, when it resolves, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. In the same vein, though, we're also playing 2 Ancient Chants. Ancient Chant lets you search for each Winged Dragon Ra. But in the graveyard, you can banish this card during that turn. In addition to searching Ra, it gives you an extra normal summon of that Ra. In the graveyard, you can banish this card, and then during that turn, if you were to tribute summon for your Winged Dragon Ra, it gains the attack of the monsters with tributes, which is pretty much the effect in the anime. So what that means is that combined with something like, let's say, your three Arcana Knights, that gives the Winged Dragon Ra on entry 5,000 attack. If you were to pay the 79 that you have at full life, you'd go to 12,900 attack, which means that any monster that is under, I believe, 4,900 attack is essentially dead. You did just an OTK straight with this card. The fact that this card can be searched off of your Guardian Slime when discarded off a Joker Straight means that if you open the Joker Straight plus a Guardian Slime, you have direct access into your Egyptian god at 12,900 attack.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it also adds from Graveyard too, which can be really useful in the fact that I don't have to play multiple Winged Dragon Ras. Finally, the other Winged Dragon Ras support we're playing the one Blaze Cannon. In certain situations where you already have the tribute summon for your Ancient Chant, you do want to search something else, and Blaze Cannon is somewhat decent in that aspect. When activated, it gives your Winged Dragon a bunch of effects. It's unaffected by card effects. Lets you pay life to give. It lets you transfer life over. I believe it lets you tribute your monsters on the field to give it attack, and then after battles, it nukes the field.
Okay.
So, which is really good because sometimes you'll find a way to summon out the ball instead of actually summoning out the Winged Dragon Ra. You tribute it to summon out the actual Winged Dragon Ra, and then you're gonna use this to just give up all your monsters anyway to go big anyway and do the same thing.
So you can, so in that way you can OTK without actually using your life points.
Yeah, and that's actually really decent in a lot of ways. It also, sometimes you can also set this on your opponent's turn if your opponent tries to get rid of the wing during raw. You can activate this and protect it, but that's a little more niche.
Yeah.
Rounding off the spells, we just have a bunch of things that let you go second. We have 3 Forbidden Droplets.
Yep.
Again, let me remind you, most of the cards like Joker Straight and Joker's Knight just add themselves back to hand, so you can blast them out of your hand and then get them back anyway. Yep. It's a free Forbidden Droplets, and the halving attack just makes it easier for Raw to go in for game.
Yep.
You have 3 Lightning Storm, just because clear your opponent's field, attack for Raw, same idea.
Going second.
You have 2 Triple Tactical Talents, just because if your opponent does attempt to hand trap you, additional draws or stealing your opponent's monster is just another way to kill your opponent.
Yep.
And then going into the traps.
Just before we go into the traps, I was going to say, for anyone who wants budget versions of these,
oh yeah, these are not the budget version.
Yeah,
this
so
is
if you guys want budget, you guys play like Dark Ruler is not a good one because you want to OTK.
Right, so you want to play. You can play Regeki Dark Hole because a lot of your combos start off with no cards on the field. This one here, pretty much, it's kind of hard to get a replacement, but the idea is that this will get reprinted very soon.
You could also just play hand traps as well.
Yeah.
To help you.
Or just imperm. If your opponent leaves in one monster, imperms the way, and this can just be called by the grave. Any other thing you want.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys can swap this for budget stuff. This is just like the most optimal way to do it.
Right. This is me putting all the money into a deck that really doesn't deserve all the money.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Going to the traps, we have 3 Joker's Wild. Joker's Wild is a trap card that lets you send any of the Joker's, any of the spells that list the 3 knights to then copy its effect.
Yeah. So what does it sends straight?
It can send straight to then copy its effect, which has some, again, because it's a trap, it lets you do some really cool things on your opponent's turn, or as a quick effect. For example, I can send a Joker straight on the end phase, or on the end of my opponent's main phase, summon out 3 of my knights, and then going into my turn, I'm no longer locked under the condition of like warriors, letting me do some really cool link plays. Or I can also send a Thunder Speed Summon, essentially give me 5 copies of Thunder Speed Summon to essentially also just tribute my opponent's board
this
with
is
a
similar
ball.
to like something like Trap Trick, but it's for spells.
Right. And the fact that this can enter the battle phase actually lets you do some really high damage moves as well. You can go attack with all 3 of your knights. Activate this, go Thunder Speed Summon, literally tribute for Raw, and then attack the game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of cool things you can do this card, but like the Joker Straight as well as the Joker's Knight, this also can add itself back from the graveyard by putting back a Light Warrior into the deck. Which means like the other 2 cards, this is just free value that you can use over and over again.
Nice.
But because this card dumps your Joker Straight into the deck, you actually get 2 cards back in that end phase you activate this effect if you dump the Joker Straight.
Pretty good.
And to supplement that, we have 2 Trap Trick.
Just to get to the wild.
Yeah,
nice.
Because the idea is that this deck really needs to get into either this or this to really get their plays going.
Yeah.
And if you need to see this card, you're going to be playing as many cards to get into this card. And even summon this on your, activating this on your opponent's turn to summon out, like for example, a ball on your opponent's field. Or sometimes I've actually sacked 3 and summoned ball on my field.
Yeah.
Because ball can't be attacked and ball also can't be targeted, which can end turns. Or summoning 3 monsters is actually incredibly useful for the long term.
There's just so many ways to go about it.
Yeah. Going into the extra deck, let's see, what do we have? We have a 14 card extra deck that I kind of just hastily made because sometimes you just never access it.
Classic 14 cards for Tony.
We have 2 Pleiades because you can turn a Jack's Knight into a Joker's Knight into it.
Yep.
We have 2 Arcana extra Joker just because you can link all 3 of the knights into this guy, and then when he dies, he actually sets up your knight combo.
For the most part, you're not going into your extra too much, right?
Not as much. Sometimes you'll go into Pleiades, sometimes you'll go into this, but not a lot of situations. You can go to Isolde as well. It searches it searches you a warrior, but in most cases, you're not actually playing the equips to actually do more with it. We are playing a Nightmare package consisting of 2 Phoenix, 1 Cerberus, 2 Unicorn. The reason we do this is because, like I said before, if you Joker straight on your opponent's turn, you can just go into all this to clear your opponent's field.
So you can do this multiple times.
Yes. Because you summon 3 monsters, this essentially goes from A, B to C.
Yeah.
If you actually, funny enough, if you activate that Joker's Wild, send straight to summon 3 monsters, you add those 2 spells back, and that provides you the fodder to dump off of these 2 cards as well.
Yep.
And then you just need to normal summon 1 more monster to go into an Axis Code Talker to just end your opponent's day.
Yep.
You're playing the 1 Appaloosa for the same reason, and the 1 Egyptian God Slime, that at worst, if you were to ever actually tribute summon for the Guardian Slime, you can just make this and then get the Ancient Chant. This thing's also kind of decent in terms of protection as well, which makes this actually a decent beater in worst case situations.
Okay.
And yeah, that's gonna do it.
That's really it. All right, thank you, Tony, for being on the channel again. And thank you also for showing us this, because this is something that I feel like people don't see very often.
Yeah, I try to make at least every deck that can be made
Playable.
Yeah. Obviously, this, if you're looking for this to be competitive, the answer is It isn't. The real limitation with this deck is once again going to be this card. The fact that it locks you into Light Warriors means you really don't have a lot of cool options.
Yeah.
You could do things like make Utopia double and all that stuff, and that's really cool for big damage and OTKs. But at the end of the day, if you go first and this is the only card you have to play, you really don't make enough to contend against things like Dry Charge or Tri-Bait.
I was gonna say, you never know. Maybe one day we'll get a Light Warrior that's actually decent.
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of Light Warriors, there's some cool options. If you go to my channel and see the Fusion build, you actually get to see a lot more of the Light Warriors come out than just the Egyptian God. And there's some really cool things you could do with this deck. But until we get something that's a better retrain than the current Arcana Joker, the Fusion that requires 3, this deck really doesn't have a decent boss monster at times.
Alright, so you guys can go to Charlie's channel, check that out. But thank you guys all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and with that, Spanko and Tony, signing.